In this unit, we're talking about the judicial branch, and in the judicial branch, there are 3 different levels of court systems, all right? And we're talking about federal, state, and municipal, aka local courts. So at the federal level, there are 3 levels of courts within the federal level of courts. So if we think about our upside down triangle, the very top section where the federal level goes, there are 3 mini levels that go in there that make up what we call the sad cake. All right, and at the top is the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, since it was created, has made, well, the Supreme Court itself and the justices in it have made thousands and thousands of decisions. You don't have to know all of them for this unit, but you do have to know the top 30. All right, so instead of us teaching it to you, you'll teach it to each other. So we're doing this via a project. All right, so if you remember show and tell from like 3rd grade, do you like telling stories? Well, I really hope that you do, and if you don't, either way, it's a project grade. You research the assigned Supreme Court case that you already have, and you present the key information to everyone in the class. All right, so instead of you just standing up there and talking, you will have a brown paper bag or white paper bag or whatever to hold your relevant props. All right, so when you tell your story, you should have at least 3 items that you use to tell your classmates, aka your peers, about your court case. All right, so there are 3 things that we need to know during your court case. So if you look down here, where it says explanation of the case that I'm circling with my mouse, the first 10 points are from the background. So you need to tell me what your case is about. So my example was Loving versus Virginia. So if I were telling the story, my background to get me my first 10 points, I would say there was a biracial couple who they wanted to be married, and they lived in Virginia where biracial marriage was not allowed, so they drove up to Washington, D.C., where it was, got married, drove back, and eventually got arrested for it. Okay, so the decision, what does SCOTUS say? Remember, SCOTUS is Supreme Court of the United States. So to get my second 10 points, I'll say the Supreme Court decided that it was constitutional to marry someone who is not the same race as you. All right, and the first 10 points, well, the third 10 points, about the constitutional principle. You need to explain to me which amendment or which article it comes from. Some cases are going to have more than one amendment, and some cases might have an article plus an amendment. If you have questions about this, please ask. All right, so these 40 points come from your confidence, aka not reading off of a sheet of paper, clarity, so being clear, not stumbling over your words, making appropriate eye contact, right? So don't look at me. I already know these cases. Look at people around you, and your ability to answer questions. So if I ask you a question about your case, or if a classmate is confused and asks you about your case, can you answer it clearly? All right, so your creativity, you have to include at least 3 props. So if I were talking about Loving versus Virginia with biracial marriage, I would have 1 prop about something that's biracial or black and white. I might have 1 prop about the state of Virginia, like a Virginia is for lovers little sign. And then the third thing I would have maybe like a Supreme Court, a picture of the Supreme Court, or a gavel, or a picture of the Loving versus Virginia movie cover, something like that. So I have to have at least 3 props in the bag. The highest grade that you can get without 3 props is a 70, and that means the rest of your case has to be perfect. Okay, so this is the explanation of your rubric. If you have any questions, please ask.